Hi everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Bethany and I'm back. I think the last time I posted a video was sometime back in May, so it's been quite some time. And it was an introductory video. I posted that video as a way to encourage myself to try to get back onto doing this, and I didn't want to do it just for the sake of doing it. I post my video and I want it to be as authentic and real as it feels to me, so that the people who would be watching the videos will find it quite relating to them. That's the reason why I did that. However, excuse me, I have been thinking about a few things that I wanted to post, content that I needed to do, some videos that I wanted to talk about, things I wanted to talk about basically. But I didn't just want to like research a topic and then talk about that topic when I don't feel connected to that particular topic. I don't feel like I would be my true self if I did that. I wouldn't really be able to pass the message the way the message would need it to be passed across to the person who would be hearing or listening to it. So I didn't do that. So I want to say sorry that it's taking me this long to come back to it, and thank you for bearing with me, because it's gonna take some time for me to find my feet with all of this, because it's very new to me. But today I am quite excited because I found the topic that actually means a lot to me, and it's just talking a little bit about anxiety and depression. My experience, I will say a little bit about my experience and challenges with anxiety and depression, and what I've currently started doing since I had a last depressive episode, and how that's helped me come out of feeling depressed. So that's the sort of topic that I'll be going through. So I did a little note to help me sort of like remember my pointers. So there are 5 things that I did that really helped me, and there is an added bonus, and that's literally the most important thing that you can do when you find yourself going through a depressive episode or like an anxious episode, and you feel like you're losing control of yourself and you don't really know how you can sort of gain back control, because it can be very hard and you can feel very lonely when you feel like you're struggling with mental health challenges. The one thing you should know is there's no shame whatsoever. No shame. There is no shame, even though it's a very sort of stigmatized experience. If somebody is going through forms of symptoms of anxiety, depression, or other kinds of mental health challenges, they tend to feel quite lonely within that experience in themselves, and find it majority of the time find it very hard to communicate how they feel to people around them, for various reasons. Okay, so I'm going to talk about my experience. So when I find myself going through like a depressive episode, or an anxious sort of episode, I find that I can't always express exactly how I'm feeling to those around me. Sometimes it's not that I can't, it's that I don't feel comfortable to, because I don't, for reasons such as I don't want to um, sort of like trouble another person with my concerns, my worries, my struggles, and make them become, if it's like family members, close friends, make them become worried for me. Generally, I don't really like to make people feel worried about me, so I try not to do that. So that's one of my reasons. Another reason, I also think that they just wouldn't get it, because they're not the one going through that experience, I am. And so I don't think that they would actually understand exactly how it feels to me, even if I try to explain it to them. That's the second sort of reason why I tend to not feel the need to speak up. So those are sort of like a few of my reasons. If anything comes to mind, I'll probably mention it later on, but for now, nothing is coming to mind to me. So the first time I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety was back in 2017, so it was a while ago, almost, don't know, it was a while ago, so definitely about 7-8 years, maybe maybe a bit longer, actually almost 10 years now. I didn't know that was what it was. I didn't understand it, why I was feeling the way I was feeling, because I didn't have an understanding of what it was that was happening to me. I just thought I was tired, and I was always on edge. I was very irritable, and I was not a very nice person, so I was like a mean person, and I'm not actually a mean person by nature, but with anxiety especially, I started to become irritable and just frustrated by very small things. So my demeanor would change. I tend to not do it to strangers, let's say acquaintances or colleagues at work, but I would definitely do it to people that I'm the most comfortable around, like my siblings or my mom, or at the time, if I had a partner, my partner. I didn't really have that much friends at the time, so thankfully I didn't actually demonstrate those types of kinds of negative behavior towards friends. I mean, it's unfortunate that I didn't have friends at the time, but I think I was much more focused on other kinds of intimate relationship, and I only had the capacity to manage, develop, and grow those relationships. That was all I had in me, so I definitely didn't move to sort of like increase my sort of friendship. I didn't do much with that, sadly. So that was the main thing. I started to become irritable, and then I then started finding out that I was not happy with a lot of things that I was doing, or things that people were doing around me. I just wasn't happy with it. Another thing is, my default kind of setting is, as a person, I think anyway, that I'm actually somebody that tends to have gratitude for a lot of things that I have. Very small things. I'm a very grateful person. So when I realized that I wasn't able to feel gratitude towards the things that I would normally feel gratitude towards, then it was something that I don't think I was actually aware that those things was happening to me, that I was acting in those ways, or I was thinking in those ways. I was just doing, just sort of just being a bit nonchalant about certain things. Let's say, for example, I don't know, let's just say, like I wanted to go to work, and rather than be looking forward to that, going to work, getting up, getting ready, my morning routine, leaving the house, looking forward and anticipating getting to my place of work, seeing everybody, and anticipate my day. For example, that would have been something that I would have been doing when I wasn't feeling depressed, but I wasn't looking forward to things like that. Actually, I started dreading the experience. Oh god, I have to get up, oh I have to do this, oh everything just felt like such a chore, like a lot more than it actually needed to feel. So that was another thing. So sadly for me, it progressed, and I really didn't understand depression or anxiety back in 2016 and 17. I understood sadness, I understood feeling miserable, feeling frustration, but I didn't understand the whole thing to do with depression, anxiety, low mood, and things like that. I understood self-esteem, low self-esteem. I understood all of that, but I didn't understand that, you know, it could be caused, if it carried on for too long, that it could be called depression. So one day I was at work and I started to feel pain in my chest, and I thought I was having a heart attack. Believe it or not. I couldn't shake the pain, but it wasn't quite the same symptoms as having a heart attack, because then you should feel like pain, like pins and needles down your arm, I believe your left arm. But I wasn't feeling that, but I was feeling pain in my chest, not in my heart, in my chest. And I was palpitating a lot. I think that was part of the fear of not understanding or knowing what was actually happening to me. So I had to leave work and check myself into the A&E, accident and emergency services at the NHS. So I did that. I got there. They ran this, I think it's called ECG, and heart monitors and things to check my heart rate and everything. I think they also did like blood tests, and then after several hours later, then they came back and said, oh, you don't have a heart attack or anything like that, which I was massively relieved to find out, because I don't think having a heart attack is anything fun that anybody would want to go through or experience. So I was really grateful for that. I was confused. I'm like, so what is going on? Because it's pretty scary experience, you know. And they said, oh, you got anxiety. So I was like, what? Yeah, you must be feeling anxious, that you got anxiety. That what I was experiencing was symptoms of anxiety. I said I was. They said, yeah. So I'm like, okay. So why was I feeling anxious? I wasn't feeling anxious. How come I have anxiety? So I was very perplexed. And they explained it a little bit to me and said the best thing to do was for me to go back to my GP surgery and tell them what I had gone experienced. And they gave me like a note, like a form that they filled. I should take it there, and then they'll probably start me on like a treatment plan, and that there were all kinds of treatment, but they'll go through all the options with me. So I did that. I think that happened sometime towards the back end of 2017. Prior to that, I had lost one of my cousins in a very horrific manner. He'd passed away, and there was a lot of like, fear and worry. The whole experience was very chaotic for the whole family. I think that was the trigger for me. So I then started on talking therapy, and I was put on medication, antidepressants, sertraline. I wasn't getting on with the medication. It just made me feel so drowsy, a lot more depressed than I had been feeling, very weak, couldn't eat, I was sleeping a lot, and I didn't like how it made me feel. I almost couldn't function. I didn't feel like myself, so I took myself off the medication. I stopped the medication, and you shouldn't do that. Usually when you go on medication, you should stay the course, speak to your GP, try to get as much support through that as you can, because sometimes maybe after like a month or 2 or 3 months of going through that medication, the medication needs a long time for it to settle into your system and for it to start working properly. Excuse me. So maybe if the medication wasn't right for you, then they will then start trying to look for a different medication when you have a medication review, and change the medication to something else that might be tolerable for you, because there are all kinds of antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication out there. But I didn't do that. I didn't know to do that. I wasn't very aware and knowledgeable. I just did what I felt I wanted to do. This medication doesn't seem right to me. I don't like the way it's making me feel, and I'm gonna stop it. So I stopped it. So over the years, back and forth, I will go through a depressive episode. I will struggle. I won't be able to cope with the medication. I won't stay the whole 3 months for it to do what it needs to do to settle in. I'll come off it. Then there were times where, I would actually go on the medication. I would stay up to 6 months, and then I feel like the medication wasn't working any longer for me. Like I'll just feel numb. Like I'll still feel depressed. Like if I start the medication, after the first month, I start feeling really good about myself, about situation, that about my life. I'm picking back up. I'm doing things that I like to do, but I always felt numb. So yes, I'm able to function again, to the degree that I want to function. I felt like my emotions were very, very subdued, and I do have heightened emotions as a person. So when I feel things, I feel them very, very deeply. So that was something that was missing when I take these medications. My emotions were, I just felt like I was a robot. Like I wasn't feeling the happiness to the extent that I would normally feel it. The joy, the peace, the laughter, the goofiness. They just kind of they were all just very subdued. And I didn't like that, because it almost like took a part of my personality away from me. But regardless, I still take the medication. And then when my anxiety then started coming back, even whilst I was taking the medication, it felt like the medication wasn't working any longer for me. And I would then be put on a review and on a higher dose of the medication. So I got to the point where I was now taking one of the highest doses of the medication to help me, because I kept saying, I'm feeling anxious. Why is the medication not taking away the anxiety? However, I also didn't know that medication on its own isn't just what's going to help you. You still have to be proactive into doing things that would help you come out of it. The medication is there to help the chemicals in your brain, you know, to adjust the symptoms that you're feeling, but it can't take it all away on its own. It doesn't work just on its own without you doing anything else to proactively support yourself. So several years down the line, I've done talking therapy, back on and off, back on and off. So I could go 1 year, I don't have talking therapy because I'm trying really hard to manage my symptoms of anxiety and depression. And then another year I could go where I do talking therapy twice in that year, and the waiting list of course is long because there's so many people who are also struggling with all kinds of mental health issues, and they need that support, so they will prioritize people based on the needs and the demands basically. And when I do talking therapy, sometimes I found that I don't always match with the therapist that has been sort of given to me. They don't always listen, believe it or not, to what it is that you might need. And that can also be not their fault, it can also be your fault because you may not know exactly what is going on with you, so you don't really know how to communicate what, because when you go through talking therapy you have to have an aim. Okay, this is my struggle, I really would like to work on this and that, or one thing. Let's just say, for example, I would really like to work on boundaries, right? So if you didn't know that you would like to work on boundaries, your therapist might not know that for you. Also, if you didn't know how to communicate what was happening to you, your therapist might also not be able to support you to be able to find the right sort of things that you need to be doing to help you heal from that. Okay, so I found that going through talking therapy didn't really work in many times. Only one time it worked for me. I had a really good therapist and she listened, she helped me, she worked with me, we worked really well together. And at that point in time, by the end of the therapy, she'd given me a score saying that I'm now cured of my depression and anxiety. The reason why I'm laughing is depression and anxiety never goes away. It's part of the human experience. So if you actually ever experience anxiety or depression, the tendency is that it could come back. So what does that tell you? That basically just means that you have to be so aware of what's happening in your life on a day-to-day basis. Be aware. If you're not aware, you would keep getting triggered and you will lose control. Because if you have awareness of what's happening inside of yourself and outside of you, meaning your immediate environment, then you would actually be able to manage that. You would be able to preempt, okay, this is going to happen, so I should be prepared that I might be feeling like this. That's part of having that awareness. And when you do have that awareness, then you'll be able to implement what you need to implement, whatever it is you need to implement, whatever skills you've got or you've learned to help you to manage that a bit better so you don't lose control. I think one of the most difficult things for people who struggle with mental health challenges is losing control of who they are within that. And many times when I've gone through that, I felt like I've lost control of who I am as a person, and that affects my daily experiences. And people see it. People would see it, especially if they know the kind of person you are, and you're not really acting yourself. Maybe you're having breakdowns where when you're around people, or the way you speak is different. You're speaking more negatively than you usually do. You're not quite upbeat if you are an upbeat person, or if you're a very laid back person and you're actually now more agitated. So people would be able to pick up the signs that you're not quite the same, you're not quite yourself. So when you're going through that, having the right kind of people around you who can be understanding and patient with you is really, really important. So I could keep going on and on about all the different kinds of experiences that I've had with anxiety and depression, but I don't really think that's necessary. I have a little note here, so I'm going to say some of the things that I did that helped me overcome my last depressive episode. So my last depressive episode, unfortunately, it started in 2024. It was actually quite a long one. I think I was more anxious than depressed for the most part of that experience. I was going through anxiety from sometime in 2024, middle of 2024, and I was struggling a lot, but there were things in my life that had happened that had caused me to feel triggered, and I felt like things was getting out of my own control, and they weren't very nice things either. If anything, I would say that I should actually give myself a pat on the back, because I'm a very strong person. I'm stronger than I actually give myself credit for. And that's just the truth, because I alone know what experiences I've had, and I don't really feel like there is a need for me to share that yet, because it's personal to me, and I do not feel like I need anyone's validation by sharing it. I know if I share it, it might give people insight into the context, but I don't think it's necessary, because I do not need anyone to feel pity or sympathy or empathy towards me. I just want you to know that whatever it is, no matter how small or no matter how big the circumstances is or the triggers are, if you find yourself depressed, anxious, you find yourself depressed and anxious, and that's just the truth. And your journey is your journey. It doesn't have to make sense to anybody else other than you. Sometimes it doesn't even make sense to you, because it can be quite a turmoil, quite a chaotic experience, and you can find yourself very confused. But your journey is your journey. It's yours alone to bear. It's good to have support. If you have that, then that's an amazing thing for you. If you don't have that, I would encourage you to seek for support, even if it means professional support. How much you want to open up to the professionals will be how comfortable they make you feel. But just know that you do not have to go through mental health crisis on your own. There's always somebody out there to support you through that. So my anxiety stayed on through till other things kept adding on to it, from summer of 2024 through to end of 2024, and at the beginning of 2025 I fell into depression. At this point, I was actually really struggling to get up and do things for myself. I forced myself, and I neglected so much about myself as a person, because I just couldn't get myself up to do these things. And then eventually I had to seek help, and I was put on medication again, and yet again I wasn't getting on with the medication. But sadly, I was finding it very difficult to reach out to my GP surgery for support. So I decided to try something different. I decided to take matters into my own hands, because it's my own life to live. Nobody else can live the life that I'm living, the way that as good as I'm going to live this life, because this is my journey alone. And so it is for whoever out there that is listening to this. It's your journey. Nobody else can experience it to the depth that you're going to experience it. So that's number one. So I thought, I don't think medication is for me. I know therapy is for me to a degree, and I also had therapy, talking therapy. However, the revelation that came out of the therapy was you definitely are on the spectrum, and my therapist thinks that I may have ADHD and some forms of autism. So what she did for me, which I was very grateful for, was put me on a waiting list. And that literally only just started in July this month. So I've only just gone on the waiting list, and this could take up to anywhere between 1 to 3 years before I actually get a diagnosis under the NHS. I can get a private diagnosis, but I'm not really too bothered about doing that because it's not a priority at this point in time in life for me. So she's done that for me. So I'm very grateful that I went through the talking therapy. I wanted to go through it and achieve other things, but she kind of led with I want to understand what's happening with you, which I explained some of it as best as I could, and then she went like, okay, we're going to take it from this angle. So I'm like, okay, she's a professional, I'm gonna let her do her thing. And I'm glad that I did, and I didn't oppose too much, because it ended up coming out now that I've now been put on a waiting list, which I was finding very tricky to do because I'm a grown-up now. So when you're an adult, it's not very straightforward to get put on a waiting list under the NHS. My GP couldn't do it for me. I don't know why they couldn't do it for me, but my therapist was able to support me through that. So that's that. But whilst I was doing talking therapy, there was some things that I was doing in the background. I didn't share everything with my therapist because of the angle that she was taking. I did share some of them with her, but not everything. It was just a personal choice. I just didn't feel like me and her was like getting along to the degree where I felt comfortable to share some of the things that I was taking proactively to help myself. Okay. So the first thing I started to do was pushing myself to get out of bed, because that was hard. I can't even explain how hard that was. The only way I can put it into words is it was as if there was a weighted blanket on every inch of my body, from the crown of my head to the tip of my fingers and my toes. Like everything felt like 10 times heavier. I couldn't really move. I couldn't get up. I can, but it was a lot of struggle. Like I can't quite explain it. Like everything just felt heavy on me, physically heavy. So, and not just that, I felt really weak, like really physically weak as well. So those was like my main experiences, like on my physical side of how I was feeling. Psychologically, I was ruminating a lot. Very bad thought was going through my head. Sometimes I won't eat, sometimes I'll eat. So I never actually made efforts to get up and cook anything for myself. So I would just eat whatever was around, piece of toast here, cereal here, whatever it was. Even to eat, I would be very hungry before I actually summoned the strength to stand up and prepare something to eat. So that was hard. Personal hygiene, that was out of the door. I was going days without taking care of my personal hygiene, or my house, like my immediate environment, laundry, chores, all out of the door. So that was awful. So I would stay in bed for several days on end. Just stay in bed, just lay down. Sometimes I'll sleep, other times I'll be awake. Nothing interests me, to put it lightly. And that carried on for months, I think about 3 months. And it got to a point where I was so fed up with how I was feeling. And so I needed to take charge of my life, because life is a challenge. And they call it the survival of the fittest. So for you to stay alive, you have to fight to stay alive, because Physically, I wasn't rotting away, but I really was feeling like I was rotting away and just wasting away, just staying in that one position in the flat, not going out of the house unless it was absolutely necessary. It wasn't great. I also have pets, you see, so I've got 2 cats and I needed to look after them. I think the only other thing that helped me to get up was because I needed to feed my cats and, you know, take care of the, you know, litter and things like that. They stayed with me quite a lot. They're indoor cats, so they don't go out. So that was the second thing. But amidst all of that challenges that I was going through, I told myself, when I started getting very fed up, because you will get to a point where you feel fed up, and at that point, once you feel fed up, there is either 1 or 2 things that will start happening to you. The first thing would be, I'm fed up now, I can't actually carry on. So do I go and do something to harm myself so that it ends, because I cannot continue feeling this way, this miserable anymore? Or do I actually try and find whatever strength that is within me that I may not have, whatever glimmer of strength, and just push through? Of course, I don't want to hurt myself, and I do want to live life, and I don't want to not be here. I want to be here, even though it seemed like there was not a lot of reasons to keep me here. It felt easier to check out. So I decided I was going to choose the option of staying alive and fighting. So I told myself, the only thing I can do right now is try to do one thing a day. Just one thing. And that was to stand up and make something to eat, like actually cook something, even if it meant I made like a noodle or something, you know, a pack of noodle. So I started doing that. So that was a really good way for me to have something to do. I'd never looked forward to it, but I just did it anyway. So I'll do that. Another thing then, I started then adding, okay, if I make noodles, maybe I can now wash the dishes that I used to make the noodles or the pot. So I will do that too. And then I'll give myself a pat on the back and say, well done, Beth, you've done something for the day. I still stay in bed. I still won't look after myself, personal hygiene or anything like that. If I needed to go to the restroom, I would literally wait until the last minute, like the last second, and rush to the restroom, because I couldn't be bothered to stand up, because I just felt so heavy inside me and outside my body. Like everything felt heavy. So that was how I was living for months. And then eventually, guess what? I was doing it. I was getting up more. I was doing that one thing, making myself something to eat, then doing the dishes, then afterwards I'll do something else, I'll add something else. Before you know it, within 2 weeks, within 3 weeks, I was doing more than one thing. I was adding something else. I'm like, my flat is horrible, I need to put some things away. I will. And I need to maybe, I don't know, hoover up the flat or dust. I will. So I started adding a few more things to what I did in my day. So that was good. So if you're struggling, I'll tell you, it's not an exciting experience, because anything you choose to do to add to your day, just know that you do not have to feel excited to do it. But if it meant that you did just that one thing for yourself, trust me, it almost feels as if you're rebuilding that muscle again, and you will get better at doing that one thing. And it won't just be that one thing. It will be one thing, then it will be 2 things, then it will be 3 things. And then it could be infinite amount of things, or as much as you're physically able to handle. Don't do too much, just do one thing at a time, one step a day. And the second thing I started doing was becoming very intentional with how I was thinking and being aware of it. That was a very important part of my internal dialogue, because when you're depressed, your internal dialogue is really not good. You're not thinking about anything nice, really, to be fair. You're thinking about the worst things in life that will happen to you, that will happen to people you care about, that will happen to whatever it is your future is looking like. It's not looking like rainbows, it's looking like hailstorms and clouds and quite a lot of rain and snow, and it's just looking really bleak, really bleak. You should know that's not who you are, and that it's not your default setting, and life isn't like that, and it doesn't stay that way forever. So being aware of your internal dialogue is so critical to helping yourself come out of or overcome a depressive episode. Just try to stay aware, and part of you fighting to stay alive is fighting with that internal dialogue inside your head. When you start just naturally thinking about how bleak life looks, or how sad you are, or how terrible your life is, or how horrible you are, or how not good enough you are, catch yourself, be aware, be proactive. That's the work you have to do. And trust me, it will come to that point where that fight is not a fight for nothing, because that will start to change. And that happened for me. So I started catching my thoughts and being aware of it and being in charge of it and being in control and being intentional of what I was thinking. So I started telling myself things like this. When I'm sitting, laying, my eyes are shut, and I'm ruminating, and the thoughts are going to the point where they shouldn't be going to, but they're going there anyway, I would tell myself the opposite of that thing. If I feel like I don't deserve to be alive, I'm not good enough, I would say to myself in my head, I do deserve to be alive. I am good enough, just like the next person is. My life is going to be great, even if it meant the thought was saying my life is not great, it will never be great. I would tell myself the opposite. I didn't believe none of it, but I was just telling myself that anyway. So I kept doing that for as long as I was able to. And things started gradually changing in my head, in how I was thinking. Slowly but surely, my internal dialogue began to change. I sought help. At this point, like I said, I was already in therapy, talking therapy. So I'll have half an hour session. I know it's not enough, but trust me, it's better than not having anything at all. Being able to look forward to having somebody call you to just ask, how are you doing today? How are you feeling? What have you been thinking about? It's better than not having anybody check up on you at all. And when it comes to help, there's so many help out there, I used the Samaritans once. I spoke to them. Their number is online. It's a free service. If you're going through crisis, you can call them for support. You can also call other charities like Mind for support. There's so many charities out there. I can't list them all because they're quite endless. And there are more organizations that are coming out as well. Or you can reach out to 111 crisis line option 2 if it's not a physical crisis or struggle or ailment, or 999 even if you feel unsafe, that you're going to do something that you don't want to do to harm yourself or anybody else. So you do have those options. You have people there who are very compassionate. They are there to support you. They might not understand fully how you're feeling or what you're going through, but they do want to, if you're willing to share that with them. They will give you tips. They might even send somebody around to your place where you're living, residing, to check up on you if you felt unsafe. So luckily for me, I didn't get to the point where I was feeling like I was unsafe to the point that I needed that, but I had the therapy. So I had that person call me to speak to me, to ask how I was, to share some tips when I spoke. Depending on what I said, she would pick up one or two things and then share some tips with me. She also emailed me different materials. I told her I was finding them very overwhelming. So what she did was just gave me grace. Read it when you feel like, when you feel ready. Those materials are in your email. They're always going to be there for you. And make use of it. You might not pick anything. You might not pick anything more than one thing out of 20 things. It just needs to resonate with you. Everyone's different, but there is something for everybody. So seek help. That's a very important thing. If you cannot seek help professionally, if you don't feel like you're there, I hope and I wish for everybody going through some kind of mental health struggles that there will be at least one or two persons in your life that you might trust enough to be able to confide in and tell them how you're feeling or what's happening with you, and they might be able to encourage you to seek professional help, because sometimes they don't have all the answers. I don't think anybody actually does have all the answers, because remember, they're not you. It's not their experience. It's your own lived experience. It's your life. It's your path, and you're in charge of it. So the experience is only yours alone to understand, to the depth that you do understand and experience it. They're just there to support you. So reach out to friends and family. I was blessed. I am blessed, actually. I have incredible people in my life. My family is a big support system, and I've got incredible friends. So my friends, when they check in on me, I don't shy away from it. If I was really struggling, I will shy away. Sometimes I will just tell them, I don't feel like talking right now, but if I feel a bit better, I'm going to send you more messages and communicate better. I think it can be very challenging to communicate better when you're not feeling your best self. But one of the things that really helped me was also communicating that to my friends and family, that I don't feel like talking right now. Let them know that I love them and I care about them. I'm going to try and look after myself, but I didn't have the energy to speak to them on the phone or text them. Or if it was that there's a kind of way that I felt like I could communicate to them, I'll do that. I'll tell them, oh, I don't feel like talking to you on the phone, but I'll send you a text message instead. Can we chat through text? Or I'll send you a voice message instead. Depending on how I was feeling, I'll tell them what I would do. So I was communicating that to them. So that was really good. They were very, very patient with me. They were very compassionate towards my struggles. And that helped me to sort of like fight the thought in my head that I wasn't loved, I wasn't cared for, nobody wanted me. Because it's not true. You're here in this life for a purpose, and you are wanted, and you are loved. You might not understand to the depths that you're loved by other people, but you are. You do have an impact here. Every one of us that is alive is because we have an impact in this world, and you shouldn't forget that, and you shouldn't believe that you don't, because you do. Even if, there are things that makes you feel otherwise. The truth is, you have a purpose here on earth to play, and you're not done. So hold on. Another thing I try to do, obviously, I allowed myself enough sleep, and I ate if I felt like I needed to eat. I didn't starve myself too much because I felt undeserving. Like I said right back to the beginning, the first thing I started doing was trying to eat something, because when you're not feeling too good in yourself, you want to eat comfort food or snack on things that are not quite good for you. They don't fill your soul. They're not soul food. They would leave you insatiable. They will leave you feeling lethargic, bloated, not quite well, because they're not right for you. So it's important to try to eat the best that you can, even if it meant cooking something small or just one meal. Even if it meant getting a baked beans and putting it on the hob and eating, rather than eating a packet of crisp, is better than nothing, right? So do that for yourself. That helped me. So I would say that it doesn't go without saying that the biggest and most important thing when you're going through any kinds of mental health crisis, challenges, especially depression and anxiety, is to give yourself compassion and grace for what you're going through. Because it's hard to do. It's really hard to allow yourself space to just go through it. Because you can't come out the other end if you actually don't allow yourself to go through it. It's better to experience it than to bottle it all up and hold it in, because when you do that, it causes a lot more physical ailments. It doesn't help. It's almost as if you're holding on to something that it's a ticking time bomb. Ultimately, it's still gonna explode. It's just a matter of time. Don't be in denial of how you're feeling, of what you're experiencing, because they are very real. They're very valid how you feel. Your experiences are unique only to you and you alone. It doesn't need to make sense to anybody other than to you. Sometimes it doesn't even make sense to you. So don't hold back. Allow the feelings to be felt. Allow yourself to fully experience it and be present in the experience. Ask yourself questions when things start coming up. Why do I feel like this? Why do I think like this? How can I stop this kind of thinking? And don't believe that the things that you're thinking are the truth about yourself, because they will seem and sound like the truth in your head. Feelings of worthlessness and hopelessness and doom and not good enough and sadness and helplessness, they will come to you. In that moment, that's exactly how you feel. But in hindsight, that is not who you are. You will come out of it. You will feel much better. You just need to hold that space for yourself, because that's what you need. You need space that is safe, and grace and compassion for yourself to go through it. You cannot rush the process of feeling depressed, experiencing anxiety. You cannot rush the process. You can only just hold space for it. And when it comes to the point when you're having better internal dialogue, who knows? You might start going out for walks, leaving your setting, immediate environments, going for fresh air, like in the evenings when it's quiet. You might not feel like it. Like when I started going out for walks, I never felt like it. No. Actually, I was dreading it, leaving the flat. Why would I want to do that? standing up from where I was sleeping or laying or sitting. I don't want to leave because I feel heavy. I physically feel heavy and tired all the time. And then inside my head, I'm fighting a battle of not good enough for anything. Like, even meaning that I wasn't good enough to stand up and leave the flat. Like, I can't. But even when you think you can't, challenge yourself to it and do it. I promise you, you will feel better for doing it. That walk around the park that I did, it was a very slow walk, very intentional. I wasn't walking for anybody other than myself. I loved it. I took in so much of the nature around me. Your body needs one thing when you're depressed: movement. That is ultimately the thing that would help you manage depression. Is moving, standing up and moving. If you don't want to move out of your house, maybe try moving inside your house. Just walk around the space you have. If you feel claustrophobic, then maybe try moving out around your streets. For example, I then started walking, and I would walk to the seafront because luckily for me, we do have a coastline about 25 minutes from where I live. So I'll walk there, I dip my feet in the water, very cold, and then I picked up swimming in the water in the open sea. I don't go far in, I'm not a great swimmer. I got myself a wetsuit and I will swim. I never really looked forward to it at the start, but I forced myself. I started going swimming, and that became my refuge. I'll be in the water and I started finding solace and peace and comfort in the water. Even though sometimes it's in the middle of the day, late in the morning, where people are busy living their lives, going to work, I did that. Obviously, when you're going through a depressive episode, it's almost impossible, if it's really bad, for you to be able to work or study. I had to leave employment because I really wanted this to work for me. So I stopped working. I haven't been working for the last 4 months. That's been very challenging, not having to go to work. But how can I be good for anybody else if I'm not even good for me? How can I support anybody if I'm not able to support myself? Or inspire anybody if I can't inspire myself? So sometimes, for you to fight, you need to do what you're not used to doing. You need to look the other way and try something completely new. Give yourself grace, give yourself space, take it one day at a time, and eventually you will come out the other end. It's been about 5 to 6 weeks now that I have been coming out of my depressive episode. I don't feel as anxious. Once I fell into depression, my anxiety literally went away, because at this point I was not anxious anymore. I wasn't leaving the house, so my triggers was lessened. I was just depressed. And now I'm looking forward to so much more in life. Again, I've just started a new job. I'm excited for it. I take up going to the gym. I don't push myself too much, but I make sure I enjoy it. I try to stay so present when I do things, even if it means washing the dishes. I put a music on the background. I would allow myself to be present and be aware of my internal dialogue and not let my thoughts just run wild. I'm so present with my thoughts now. I still pick up swimming. I sometimes do it once or twice a week, depending on my availability with work. And I do gym even if it was once or twice a week. I don't do too much. I don't go in the mornings because I get tired and I feel like I want to sleep because I don't actually have a lot of energy to do a lot of things. So I'm aware of my energy reserve and I protect and manage it, and I give myself grace for so many things that I do. But most especially, I'm much happier in myself. I feel so fulfilled. I may not have everything, but I have life. I have peace. I have love. I think I'm a wealthy girl, even though I may not be financially wealthy. And I am so excited to do so many more things that I would hopefully be sharing with you guys in the future. But just know that you're not alone in this. So many people in this world that are going through anxiety, depression, and a lot of other mental health crises and challenges. Most people don't even know that they are. That's why they feel the way they feel and act the way they do and think the way they do. They just called all kinds of different things, and people don't understand them and they don't understand themselves. But you are not alone. There is help out there. You are stronger than you think. You will come out of this. Trust yourself. Trust the process. Allow yourself space to go through it. Give yourself grace and compassion, and be aware of what you think. You've got this. Thank you for listening to me, and see you in the comment section. Until next time. Bye.